Yo, what's going on YouTube? Jerry Dan Gaming coming back with another Rise of Kingdoms video. And today we have a few special guests. We're bringing on the 1093 leadership team of Silentflow and Nycko to discuss the new 16-hour War Frenzy to address the piloting issue. I will caveat this that we kind of got really far into the discussion until we kind of like came to the realization like, oh yeah, we're really talking about like the 1% of kingdoms that this is going to affect, like all the Imperiums and high A seeds, mid A seeds, maybe a little bit as well. So um do keep in mind that I think a lot of these discussions are going to form around the Imperium level high A seed format of KVKs, and that a lot of these kingdoms probably aren't relatively going to be a lot of these kingdoms aren't going to be affected by these issues or by these updates, I should say, however you want to take it. So do just kind of take that as a caveat. And yeah, this was going to be a little bit of a longer video. There's no like really there's nothing really to it besides just audio. So if you want to treat it like a podcast, you want to put it on during a drive, you want to put it on while you're doing some work, there's really nothing to look at. So just really kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy. Just to kind of like jump in and get into like the nitty gritty of this stuff. So obviously the piloting issue looks to be being addressed from Lilith. We I think are probably going to be in the realm of being in some of these test servers when we get out of this Farmville KVK that we're in. So we might be some of the first to try some of the 16-hour War Frenzy potentially. But in terms of like the grand scale of like piloting and the state of piloting itself, what are your guys' thoughts from like a leadership perspective? Like what troubles has it caused you? Has it actually relieved anything from your plate in terms of leadership? um I guess if yeah, whoever wants to start.
I was gonna say it definitely hasn't like resolved any issues in terms of leadership. Like it's created like an additional burden of not only do you have to like check that your players are ready with speeds and resources, now you gotta check that they have like a pilot too, right?
Mhm.
Um and like not just that, but you have to check that we have as many pilots as the enemy does. Because we'd be happy to play without pilots, like because don't particularly like the piloting thing, right? Like it's annoying from a leadership perspective of war leading. Like they don't do like it's very very rare that you have a pilot that actually cares about objective and like wants to use like a captain level account as a captain. They just want to field, right? Like most people are playing just to, get some more field time in and have fun that way. So it's really
think
obnoxious that way.
that would be a small problem, honestly. Like I do remember from KVK 15 when we fought GST till now, like we every KVK the captain issue gets worse.
Mhm.
Because if like there's a big spender and they give their account and they have the best equipment, like that account should be better on a field, like just fielding 7 marches.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like just from that alone, like the getting pilots will fuck up your garrisons and rally leaders. I mean, of course, you can like work for that, but it has made things worse, and that's like one of the smallest problems.
Yeah.
Like the bigger problems is that in the past we used to recruit and balance time zones. Like
Mhm.
we would deny some people, like let's say NA time zone, if we were in need of EU and Asian time zones, and then we would like get ready, do the migration, be happy with the balance, and then we play some kingdom that has pilots 24/7, and for them they just accept all the spenders that they can, and they don't have to deal with time zone. So like this aspect of trying to balance, because like this is like another detail for leadership to balance time zone. Um, with piloting, like that's gone. Like you just get the biggest spenders. They'll have like because the bigger accounts currently, I've seen groups where they have 8 to 9 pilots for just one
Jesus.
account. it's not 1 or 2 pilots, like it's 10 people playing on one account, so that account is like always 24/7 online. And I mean, this was an issue until 2000, I guess early 2025, until GT fought 77, because what happened in that KVK was 77 had like 400 farm accounts online, all being piloted. So then GT couldn't deal with all the territory advantage that 77 had. So now not only do you have people piloting main accounts, which is, I mean, fair, like some people can be busy in real life, so they can't let their kingdom down, so they need to find a pilot, which is, fine. Maybe they can get a friend. But now, like, not only are you dealing with people being piloted, like main accounts, now you have to worry about farm accounts. Like, you have to find
Yeah.
pilots for all the farm fillers, and then for the new zone opening, you have now pilots that will build flags for you, which is like very useful.
Oh yeah.
Even though we're like the only kingdom with 2 alliances in the game, and like these things are easier for us compared to like 1 alliance kingdoms,
Hmm.
this is still an issue because it takes like so many players, like 20 people, just to build flags. But if you had a pilot team, they would just do it for you.
Yeah.
And then you also have um, war leadership that is being piloted, like especially in the Chinese servers, but we've also seen this in international now, where
Hmm.
they will pay experienced players to war lead for them. And in our case, like we don't do that because I mean, um, not only like I mean I do think like one of the best, but also on top of that, I don't know, you can't really trust, and
Hmm.
we have to stay up 24/7. And
Yeah.
other kingdoms they just pay war leaders and deal with that. And now, I mean, this was like the problem in Chinese servers where they had companies, like you literally pay a company like 20, 30K dollars and they do everything for you. They'll find pilots for your accounts, for your farms, for your fillers, everything. They deal with that. You just pay like X amount of money and they would handle everything. In international, like it's more complicated. And now we have another issue, like since 2025,
Hmm.
where kingdoms will book Discord, like pilot Discords, in advance.
Yeah. To take
And
away
then it,
take away
yes,
the
it
ability
takes
for,
away from
yeah.
your opponent to find pilots. So now let's
Jesus.
say like, for example, like we want to fight GT, but then they book all the pilot servers and then we cannot find pilots. So that's another big problem. Like I think, I don't know, it's become a very big problem.
Yeah, I
And
mean
it's
the
also like it's just like it ruins like the mood of your kingdom too and the culture because like the time that you spend the most time with other people in KVK is those times in voice, right? Where you have everybody together, you're all just kind of like talking and doing stuff. But if everybody else in the chat is like not even someone from your kingdom, then like what are you doing there? Like
yeah,
what is it that you've like built as a community at that point?
I agree. Yeah, I
I mean,
think
that's
you
what,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say like you guys touched on like a lot of like key things there, in terms of like the state of piloting and even some things that like I think some like the general audience knows, but some that like maybe others don't. Like I think like King Schmuck did an amazing like little mini documentary on what piloting has become. And I think some of those aspects that you guys have mentioned when it comes to like war lead piloting, and I think he did bring up like the farm filling piloting, but like it's so far gone now that like it just when you say stuff like that, like hopefully the community really understands, like when you're getting people to come in and war lead pilot, like what are we even doing as kingdoms anymore? Like what have we stripped this game down to? Of course it's always been a pay to win structure kind of game in terms of accounts, but now you're doing pay to win strategy. Like war leading is kind of ridiculous, and I've mentioned it too. Like my thoughts on piloting is like I hate that it's ripping away the essence of Rise of Kingdoms being a real-time strategy and like developing your kingdom to cover those time zones, because that's what like made it so interesting back in the day. And now obviously like we talk like, you know, peak Rise of Kingdoms, I quote unquote peak, depending on what you consider peak. But I mean, when we're doing like 4 Alliance KVKs and you guys were a part of some of these massive Imperium KVKs, with 4 alliances each, you know, there is a reasonable amount to consider when it comes to time zone coverage. And I think even more so as we've kind of come down to this 1 alliance, kind of kingdom meta of like making sure that you're properly covering your time zones. You know, and then even to what Nycko said, like, you know, community is such a huge part of Rise of Kingdoms, and by having this piloting meta like now with us, like it's going to start stripping like kingdom community building away. And I agree, like
I
that's
mean,
it.
that's what like Sewell said, like one of his things or
Yeah,
whatever that they wrote in their posts for them like disbanding GT is like it just wasn't fun for them anymore. And like I don't blame them. A lot of these times, like in some of these recent KVKs, when like there's times when you can tell that it's a little more pilots online than normal, it gets frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, but then at the same time, there's like this other issue of like people just blame pilots for everything.
Yes, yeah.
Like they weren't following markers. Oh, that was my pilot.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm really aware it's you. You're in the voice call with me, you idiot.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's even come down to it now where you have the daily piloting services where people are managing your account on the daily, and it's like we have people hitting 93 members in Lost Kingdom, and then it's the pilot. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck are we like
I mean,
getting
like at a
down to
certain
here?
point, at a certain point, you got to be like, okay, it doesn't matter if it's the pilot. That's your responsibility to
Yeah.
let the pilot know, right?
Yes.
Like,
I do remember when Siwo posted that message, that like his post, that a lot of people memed him because I mean GT was, I'm pretty sure, like the first kingdom to um, take
really make
like a
piloting that way,
next
yeah.
step for pilots. I mean, I don't blame them. Like that's what you have to do as a One Alliance kingdom fighting us like 3-4 alliances. But the thing where he said was, I mean, he even gave examples of like, you know, in previous KVKs, like he would have this person like raging, this other person like falling asleep. This is also true in like in our kingdom,
Mhm.
because last KVK I did notice way more pilots than usual, because like we don't have that many pilots, but like I would notice like sometimes if we were like 100 people in voice, there would be like maybe 30 pilots. So um,
It was definitely
this
higher than
also makes
normal the
people
last one.
against GT. I mean, so
Yeah,
I was gonna say that just the vibes are different
yeah.
Yeah. When
because
did you?
you're now worried. Like some people are worried that maybe they'll say something inappropriate. Like maybe they were gonna leak. You know, they
Yeah,
don't wanna like
yeah.
trash talk. Because I mean, trash talking is part of the game. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you get a like a flag burn or something, like people are gonna be excited. They'll say something, and then if you have pilots, maybe they'll leak. Now
Yeah,
it becomes like a bigger issue than it should be. So people just don't say anything at this point.
yeah, yeah. I think that's
And
a
of
I.
course, like you do have people, because if you're a pilot, you will, I mean, you'll be paid by doing KP. So
Mhm.
like it is in your like in your
Your
goal
personal best interest, yeah.
to farm KP as much as possible. So you're not gonna follow markers as much. I mean, of course, now like we have cases where you will pay a pilot extra, so they actually follow markers. Um, but I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just dumb. Like people get frustrated. There are people who prefer, you know, like they grind the entire off season. You know, they have farm accounts to
Mhm.
prepare for KVK, and then they have to deal with pilots. And at some point, like they also need to get a pilot, because if you go to sleep and everyone that goes to sleep they don't have a pilot, then you get pushed back. So now these people are like forced to get new pilots, and they don't want. Like we have lost people in United that refuse to, not because they cannot afford, but like they're paying, you know, they're spending money that they should get to enjoy. But when you
Yeah.
share your account with a pilot, they'll be spending your resources, like the things you worked for, and the money you spent for. So this also is another problem.
When did you guys first see piloting creep onto the scene? Was it in that KVK where you guys fought when you guys were still 4 alliances? And then when did you guys really see the piloting issues like increase? I think we kind of mentioned them both, but I just want to just like some clarification for the community, at least from your guys' perspective.
I think in our experience, we first saw this in KVK 13 when we allied 960 against 365, 175, 534. Because I mean, at that point, like it wasn't just a KVK; it was like a lot of drama. So for like 365 and 960, it was more personal. I mean, I'm sure like 365 didn't pilot as much because they were 4 alliances, and also at the time, I don't think Koreans, like it wasn't
It was
known that
pretty difficult for them to share. Yeah.
yeah, like Koreans couldn't find pilots. So it was more personal for 960, and I mean we did pilot some of them, but in general, like that's when I noticed, things getting more extreme. Because 2 KVKs before that KVK, we fought 1v, and the odds were like heavily against us because 1v allied 860, and I mean they had way more bigger players than us. So if they had at any point pilots, we would have lost easily. But in the end, we ended up winning because they would dominate during their uptime, but then they had a bad downtime because like Asian Kingdom obviously will go to sleep. Um, so I would say like KVK 13. I don't remember. That was 2023, I think.
Check. Yeah,
Okay,
that sounds right.
sounds
So
about
that's
right.
when
Yeah.
that's when like piloting became an issue, but it was still like manageable, like it wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And then I would say
When did we
the
start
voice cut off.
really like thinking about it, I guess?
We
Hello?
used it
You're good. You're
against
good.
489 GT, I think. That's when we started like looking for pilots. So that was last year for us.
Hmm.
And then probably
But I
it
mean, it's like
really, I feel like it got really intense very recently, like the 960 and 2377 KVK. I think that's when
yes, that KVK was I mean, because usually like you have a KVK like Imperium KVK where something will happen and then kingdoms will get ideas from that.
yeah.
And in that specific KVK, not only did the farms like they got piloted very heavily,
Mm-hmm.
of course, like for like building forts, flags, filling, but on top of that, um, because Zone 5 used to be very expensive with the OTEC, and both kingdoms started running low on resources. So then they started looking for their allies to help out. So we were helping 960 in our domain 3, and 77 was getting help by 2975 in domain 2, which is, I mean, it's fair, like it's your allies, they'll help out with resources. But then
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, what happened next was I heard that 77 was looking through the kingdoms in domain 2 entry of 960, and they were paying them to not sell to GT. So they were like paying, like they were giving them money to reserve the resources so GT wouldn't be able to buy. Even though 77 was not in the same KVK maps as 960, they were like paying them more than the usual rate just so that 960 doesn't get resources. So that KVK was like very bad in terms of that. I mean, I don't think anyone enjoyed it.
No, it
So
was kind of
that was
shitty
like
because
the
like it
most
was just
extreme
like throwing
pay to
money
win.
around to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think, kind of mentioned before, like it's too, I don't know, that's too far gone is like the wrong term, although it is, I don't think it's too far gone in terms of fixing, but like it's so like,
It's too extreme.
yeah, it's way too extreme now. And I mean, from like just this conversation alone, like this last 20 minutes or so, like it almost makes me not want to play the game, to be honest, because I'm like we've truly ripped the essence of what Rise of Kingdoms was back in the day, right? And a lot of people don't see this, right? And this is why, I had the thought to bring you guys on, because obviously from, leadership perspective, you're gonna feel it a lot more, right? I've done a little
Yeah.
bit of leadership work, nothing on the level that you guys have. And if I had to go ripping through my bag and looking for pilots and this and that, and how do I block the other kingdom from getting reached, like that's just like way too extreme.
That's too
Um,
much. That's way too much.
yeah, like I just want to get back to the simplistics of like, how can we outmaneuver you in flags? Like, who's gonna have the better mountain jump? Like, and not like
I know,
who.
and like they've left there's like a lot of the game that they've honestly like stripped of like that strategic stuff in the name of like making it more, I guess I'd say, uh intuitive for like newer players, right? Like there's a
Mm-hmm,
lot of the weird territory stuff that is no longer works, right? Um that was fun and it was interesting, and like it kind of like I understand why they removed it because it kind of felt like cheating once you like figured out their mechanics, right? Like you could do really weird stuff with it.
mm-hmm,
Um but now you kind of like lost that, and in losing a lot of that stuff, like especially like the bubble cities, right? Like cities get ported out now, so there's no way to
mm-hmm.
kind of really like create like a buffer zone that you can kind of push back to easier anymore. So now it has just become very much this war of attrition where everybody throws their field at each other for days until one side runs out. And
Yeah.
then the flags really start burning.
Yep.
And that is, I think, also one of the reasons why piloting has become so intense, is because of the meta has changed to be its field focus. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have field, you will not win KVK. There is no way for you to actually just sit there and turtle up and hold your territory until your uptime anymore. You will lose your territory if you do not field.
Yeah.
I mean, another problem is like last KVK against GT. In a lot of times we had field, but we couldn't burn the flags
Yep.
because of the new tech. It was like too hard. So if they like buff flags to be more tanky, you have this issue. But if they don't, then it's purely like field fighting. And if you lose the field, like your flags will insta die. So it's
Yeah,
not.
and
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to come up with a fix. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think that the 16 hours limit, you're gonna see a lot of return to like the older style of rock, of um of those like kind of you get to like hold a little bit longer
Mm-hmm.
because people can't just feel limitlessly
Yeah.
anymore.
Sure, but it's also gonna limit some people from playing
Yes.
because there are people that do not use pilots, but for a pass opening or Kingsland, will stay up for like 40 hours to
Mm-hmm.
fight.
Hmm.
But now they can only play for 16 hours and they're done. And it's another like topic. If you're like an international kingdom and you're fighting an Asian kingdom, and the war frenzy is gonna, it's not gonna be aligned. I don't know. I mean, it should like at this point, anything that Lilith tries to fix with piloting is like positive,
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't get it right. Like they are still, like thinking about it and considering stuff to help fix this issue. Um, but I mean, for me personally, I don't think the 16-hour war frenzy is gonna work out very well. I mean, I might be wrong, but I
I
think
don't
it's
know
just
that
gonna
it's gonna
create a lot of
fix.
issues where,
Yeah.
um, like I mean, for us, like specifically 93, a lot of the because if we fight an Asian kingdom, we cannot hold as much, so our Asian players will try and wait when we have more people online.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but with this war frenzy, like I mean, maybe at this point, like they're completely not gonna fight, because how it works, the war frenzy is it's not just like 6 hours of fighting, but like 6 hours of you having war frenzy.
Yeah.
So you could be fighting, you could be sitting beside the flag, but you don't have frenzy. So maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but like at least the way I imagine it, I don't think it's gonna work out very well.
Okay. And then Nico, what do you think? This is great because I was gonna transition us over into the war frenzy and stuff also. So Nico, what do you think on like this resolution so far? Do you, I mean, obviously again
I think
we haven't
that
seen it in action yet. We're probably gonna be part of the batch of kingdoms that go in to test it. So what are your thoughts on it?
it's going to be really interesting because it's kind of working directly against a lot of the pressures that they have right now to create single alliance kingdoms, right?
Yeah,
Because now there's a real problem if you have too few mains, because those mains are going to run out of frenzy now. And then there's nothing you can do. So like if you're a smaller kingdom and you only have a few like bigger players who can swarm, when they run out of frenzy, you're not pushing anymore. You're not doing anything anymore. Um so like that's a big problem. And also like kind of like the impact of like when you're a rally leader and you like rally something and you anchor it, you're just like procking like 15 minutes of frenzy there, launching that rally. You might not necessarily be fielding, but you're just like losing time
yeah,
to just launching that rally, right? So it's a little bit of like a, it kind of sucks in that way. I'm not sure. I think that like Silent's right that like anything they change is like a good step because it shows that they're trying.
I agree.
I think that it also, like from like a little bit of like a chaos point of view, like the meta gets stale, and I really don't like this current meta of just, you know, field fight simulator for a few days.
Yeah,
Is really boring strategically to me. So like
yeah.
anything that like throws that meta into chaos to like maybe create a new meta, get some new ideas, see new things, I think that'll be more interesting. It's going to be issues though, like Silent said, like people are not going to like it, and there's probably going to be people that quit over it. And you just kind of hope that like the community as a whole is willing to just wait it out and see what happens at the end.
So I think we're obviously going to have an issue with some people not liking it. From what I've seen, right through, I think King's Codex had a really good poll up. Oppo, who has a really, his community is quite large. Um, he does polls daily on this stuff, and just things I've seen on other content creators. It does seem like a large majority of the population of players don't really care about this. This is
Yeah.
really targeting a select few, and obviously those select few, I mean, it is going to be those really high end accounts that can be on for literally like weeks on end because they're limitless in speed ups and resources. From a personal
Yeah, because like
mm-hmm.
basically I was gonna say that like if you're already limited by resources and by speed ups, the time limit isn't gonna affect you
Yes,
because you can't fight forever anyway.
exactly. Yeah, that's
It's
what I,
gonna be those people that Silent said that stay up and like blow their load in the first 40 hours of a zone.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what kind of where I was going to go to. Like, number one, like, my limit's about 18-20 hours, and that might even still be pushing it. Like, I try to push a little bit farther than that. Like, I've tried to do 24-hour streams multiple times. I can't do it. Like, I'm too old at this point.
I
And
know.
like,
I'm
I'm just
feeling that too, right?
I'm just like, come on, push through. And it's like, fuck it, my body doesn't want to do it. And then like, I've also like aligned up some friends to have like to pilot for me in the instances when I wasn't going to be available. And like, I realized, I mean, this is only I'm only done 2 Imperium KVKs now. And like the level of fighting that we do here, like my account can't sustain piloting. So it's like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be affected much by it, by the time, and then also by the effect of like, someone covering my account, because it's impossible. If I did have someone cover my account, then my account would be washed in zone 5, um
Mhm.
so yeah, it is going to be interesting to see, like, the high end players, how they take it, in terms of their accounts not being able to be ran 24/7, and, like they want to. And then also the select few people who are just truly grinders who can stay up, 24 plus hours just, grinding a Kingsland opening. And shout out to those people who can do so, because like insane amount of like energy drinks these guys must be doing, because holy shit. I get to that 16-hour mark and I'm like, yeah. And then even too, like you said, Nycko, like the meta is so stale. Like I don't even want to fight for 16 hours. Like it's boring to just
No,
go
like I
back
don't
and
enjoy
forth. And
fielding that much,
yeah.
and so like I'll field, like it's fun for the first parts of the zone, but unfortunately, like the first parts of the zone are the parts when I'm busiest in terms of leadership. Like I'm very rarely like fielding at that point. I'm
Yeah.
like on my alts and building and doing all this other random bullshit, like fixing other things, right?
Hmm.
So like it's not gonna I'm not a player who's gonna be impacted by it, basically.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to kind of like really talk to that, I guess. Like as from
I
a
think
player perspective.
Hmm.
my biggest worry about this is that if it doesn't turn out to be good, it's gonna make some people quit. Like Nycko said, hopefully people are patient. I think it's gonna like take some time to
Oh
find a
yeah.
good solution. And you did bring a good point about Apo and his community not caring much. Um, I think people like on the high end, like Imperium and Acid, will be surprised at how many casual people there are. Like not just in Rock, but like in general, in a lot of games where like the competitive people. So in this case, even like even if we include the Acid and Imperium, even though like the difference is like very big, I would say like it's maybe less than 5% of the community
Oh yeah.
that is fighting at this level.
Yeah. And
And at the top, in the top Imperium, it's like less than 1% of the player base, I think.
yeah. I just watched the Omniarch video on this, where he kind of came out, and not saying he's defending the update or anything like that, but he made an amazing point where like we're kind of out of the extreme era that was Rise of Kingdoms back in 2020 to 2022, which makes sense when we talk about the timeline of when piloting kicked up, right? Because like about to the end of 2022 going into 2023, like people started to have to go back to work, like in office, right? A lot of those
Yeah.
remote jobs started to change, and the nature then of Rise of Kingdoms, those 2000 to 2022 era, yeah, people were able to grind insane hours of KVK action because they had the accessibility to do so. Now we don't have that, and now we're returning to a much more casual format in terms of what the players themselves can do. And I thought that was like a really really good point. And like one of the things that he stressed is that Rise of Kingdoms does have to pivot in a little a different way if they plan to keep the game alive, and that they need to recruit and keep more casual players, and in turn have to make Rise of Kingdoms a little bit more casual friendly, because we're not going back to the old days where people can work from home, as much as they used to. Obviously some people still have that benefit of doing so, but I think a large majority of people had to return to the office, and that just truly limits how much you can play Rise of Kingdoms. So um yeah, I'm here to, I'm like, and I think a couple of us, we're not going to be too affected by it, but I do hope that the community can be patient. I like the fact that they've acted so fast on this, because it was only about 2 months or so ago that we kind of saw those leaks come through from like a Chinese meetup event, and here we are, Lilith taking action. So I do hope that we are patient as a community, and they are looking to address it. But and going back to the scope and the extremeness that is piloting now, like look how big of a problem these guys have to fix. Like not only is it just pilots being on an account, or an account running 24/7, but also hopefully they get to the core of this at some point. I don't know how they tackle it, but like,
Well, I think it's going to be hard too, because at this point there is an industry around it. And that
yes,
industry is going to fight back against changes or try
yeah,
to pivot itself
yep,
into a new role, right? So it's a really difficult thing for them to nail down because it doesn't want to be nailed down, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's actively like resisting because people are making money off of it and nobody wants to stop making money, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's scaled to this living being now, essentially.
Yeah,
this
it's
living ecosystem within
like a
Rise of
little
Kingdoms.
virus.
Yes, yeah, and it doesn't want to go anywhere. So, they have their work cut out for them, and I think we're seeing some changes and we're seeing some quick action, which I think is really good. Um, so in terms of like the 16-hour war frenzy, um, do you think I think we've come to the agreement that it probably isn't going to be sufficient on the surface level just yet, um, but on the 16-hour war frenzy, is this going to create more work from a leadership perspective, and like what kind of work do you foresee it bringing to the table, and have you guys started to prepare for some of this stuff already? And obviously you don't have to go too much into detail, but
I mean,
I think
absolutely haven't started preparing for it. Like,
I mean um when I first heard of that, I did say that if you're in a good kingdom with like good leadership, you can make this work in your favor so that you try to time it to like fight your opponent while they have their cooldown. Um, I mean, it's just an idea. I think something like this can be possible, but honestly, we'll have to see first. But it's possible. I mean, about creating like more problem for leadership, I don't know. I'm not sure. I
I don't
guess
think
we'll
it's
just
gonna.
have to make sure that the people are not wasting their
scouting.
frenzy. Like for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
you have Kingsland.
Yeah.
So after reset, you don't touch anything. You don't scout people. Um, like Nico said earlier, when we have like 10, 15 anchors on flags, we'll probably have to change that a bit
Yeah.
so that the leaders don't keep proccing their frenzy if nothing is happening. So I think it's too early to say. I mean,
Okay.
it's probably will make it a bit harder, but in our experience, if we have to deal with less pilots, it's gonna save us more time, like not having to deal with as many pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like for me personally, last KVK against GT, we had someone that was piloting 93 accounts, and he was feeding a player in 960, and I had to log in on one of those accounts and keep kicking this guy out
Oh my
until the owner
god.
came and changed his password. And I did tell GT leadership, and they were also like upset about that because they don't want the people like getting kills like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think it will balance itself out, like where you do have to um,
A
prepare for
little
that,
more work, right?
but
But less.
yeah, but like overall less, because now like we've had to create a server for like the Discord pilots, and then we have to make sure that everyone like we speak to everyone, check if they are okay with having a pilot,
True.
and if
Yeah.
yes, like is that pilot trusted and all that. A lot of time goes into that now. So yeah, I would say overall like it will be a bit easier on leadership, but we'll have to work with that a bit, like make
Yeah.
sure it's optimized.
For that, and I guess for like the actual upfront, worrying about 16 hours, strategizing around that, we still have to see. But first glance, it does look like it'll initially reduce some of the load on leadership. Because like you said, I mean, it's a lot of work, and especially for a kingdom like you guys, like where you go in and you're in depth with how you recruit people, right? And as is, I would assume, other Imperiums as well, like kind of going through this interview process, getting to know the player a little bit, know how they play, letting them know, how they're expected to perform in a kingdom like 1093, and then just adding to that and like trying to be like, okay, well, okay, now we have to go into a discussion about your pilot, and is your pilot cool, and are they reliable, and all this other stuff. So like, yeah, that's definitely going to save a fuck ton of time. as
I mean,
well on that.
in every Imperium Kingdom, like there is part of leadership that is responsible for pilots.
Hmm.
So there's like specific assigned people to deal with pilots
Yeah.
in every top Imperium
And
Kingdom
it's
that
not
I
even
know.
just that, it's like not just to deal with pilots, it's like you have to like network with other kingdoms to kind of like, like I'll help you out, you help me out sort of thing. And like it's this whole like other level of like almost like diplomacy and relationships that you have to build
Hmm.
with everyone else in order to make sure that like you don't have end up in a situation where like
Yeah.
you have no friends who will help pilot you, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that there, here we go, like peeling back another layer of the pilot issue, which is something that, um, I've seen, but again, doesn't come to the front of mind for me because I'm not in leadership. But it is a really good point. I've seen these discussions happen of like, oh, this kingdom's going into KVK, we're gonna be going in to help them, and like, yeah, it's gotten really, 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 really extreme. And look, we've taken a step, and hopefully it helps, but I think there's a little bit more to add to that. And I guess that leads into the next question as we can kind of start to close it out a little bit. Um, so we've kind of come to the agreement that, look, it's a step in the direction. We've taken some action quickly, and that's a positive, but we're not sure if it's really going to be a resolution to the problem. What do we think is? What do you think is a step that Lilith can take to like really put a firm grasp on this whole piloting organism ecosystem that has started within Rise of Kingdoms?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've played other games, and basically in any game that requires constant activity, at some point in time, it will like the meta will become pilots. So
Mm,
this is not a Rise of Kingdoms problem. This is in general like online games problem. Some games deal with that by having like a bot system.
mm-hmm.
So basically, like in AutoCAD, this would be like a feature that will fight for you. But I mean, of course, like it's not gonna work out. So I'm not really sure. I think first we have to see how it works out. Um, I think another problem is, I mean, it's not really a problem, but when kingdoms like started stacking spenders in the
Yeah,
same alliances,
I
and
agree.
then they had unlimited speeds and resources with like the
Mm-hmm.
sellers and all the goodies. Those like accounts just like just started running 24/7. Like it's not their fault,
Yeah.
but that's what happens when you get all like so many spenders in one alliance. Those accounts can play 24/7, and then in return, you have other kingdoms that need like pilots to deal with that. So
Like an arms race at that
I
point.
think it just like everything added up, to where we are now. And the solution, I'm honestly, I don't really know. I think we have to
I
see how this first goes. Maybe like slowing down the combat, which tech did kind. Like when you recall now, you don't get the movement speed.
Yeah, true.
So this slows down the combat a bit, like all the fighting and the tech making. I mean, now they've changed it a little bit, but still, it's not as bad as before.
Do you
So I think
think?
like slower fighting is maybe like, and maybe limiting kill points. I did also suggest that before,
yeah,
like
same.
just
Like
the KP inflation now, for example, because we started like seeing people like over 100 bill kill points.
Uh-huh.
If they lower the number, so like they keep everything, but the values, like the numbers, the zeros go lower. Um, it will maybe stop people from like chasing KP as much. And maybe it
I
doesn't make
think
sense, but it does make sense in my mind.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean
Well,
it is like it's like what they were trying to do with that acclaim feature that came out for like a KVK or two of creating other metrics than kill points
mhm,
that people would maybe value, right?
yeah.
Because I do think that that's a real issue. And like, I think that that was maybe another thing that contributed to it is that these autark leaderboards, which were a decent idea in order to make it so that there was, guaranteed autarks for people that fought a lot. But if you think about it, 2 out of 3 of these leaderboards are directly related to field fighting.
Yeah.
It's your heals and your kills. And
Yeah.
so obviously there's now incentive for people to do a lot of those things. So you have to incentivize other things if you don't want people to just do field fighting.
Yeah. They got to get like an occupation time, like leaderboard for someone
Yeah, like an
I
who
mean,
occupation
who
leaderboard,
sits on
like
like a burning flag or fort, and like, yeah, obviously that's an insane metric. I don't know if they'll ever be able to track that, but it's like something of the sort where it's
I mean, like
it's an
w-
objective
one of the
statistic.
things that we suggested too is like I think it might have been Silent that you suggested it. This was your but that instead of like the War Frenzy like locking you down from creating War Frenzy things, just lock you down from gaining kill points.
Ooh, okay.
Like at that point, like you can still fight objective, but there's nothing that these people that are having their accounts being online 24/7 to get like big numbers, they don't care that much anymore at that point, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a little less ego involved at that point, so it's not as much incentive to be running your stuff 24/7 anymore because you're not really having anything to show for it
Yeah.
personally
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Interesting.
I mean, I've talked to big spenders that do like KP as a number on their profile, because I mean, there's difference between gaining KP because like you're playing for objective,
Mm-hmm.
and just like sitting, like suiciding on enemy territory, just getting KP because you can afford it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think um, maybe they should look into that, like deflating the numbers, like it was in the past, like 116 million kills is now like what, like 2 point something billion KP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's like a standard Imperium KP gain, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not just pilots, but yes, there are people. I mean, this is like very few people that will keep their accounts 24/7 online because they want higher KP because it looks cool. I mean, it does look cool, but
Mm-hmm.
I do think there's maybe some problem in that.
Okay. Yeah. So I never thought about that, honestly. Like, yeah, I mean, that is like a core part of like why a pilot would be online is like, make my account look nicer from that aspect. What do you guys think about and I think those are honestly like some great suggestions. What do we think about limiting devices
I think that it makes sense.
I think
Like
specifically in conjunction with with this first step that we have, this first phase, let's say, of the 16-hour war frenzy.
I think it makes sense. And it'll kind of combat like those like accounts like we're talking about earlier, like where some of these accounts have got like groups of like a dozen people like running a single account, right? Like it's a little disgusting, but it's not going to lock out people who have like their buddy who has access to
Mm-hmm.
like help them out in case they fall asleep on a flag, right?
Yeah.
Cuz I whatever happens, whatever they do, I don't want it to lock it down to the point that you can't have like that little like I guess like that safety net in that way, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
like that I think it's a nice thing and it's also just like, nice if you have like a friend or like there's people that like share accounts with each other like husband wife duo, they
Yep.
both play the same account, right?
Yes.
Big issues if there's stuff like that, right? You have to like limit it but also limit it so that it's not too limiting, right?
Yeah, I
Um
agree.
I think limiting device is good, but yeah, like Nico said, in the past, I mean, leadership you will have access to captains
Mm-hmm.
in case you need a garrison or like a rally leader. But if they've reached the limit, and like they don't even have to be piloted, because if the limit is too low, then you've got like a PC, and like for me, I have a PC and I have a phone, but I know like a lot of people will also have like a tablet,
Mm-hmm.
so that's already 3 devices for their account. And then also there's a lot of people nowadays where they share their account to friends for like events. If they oversleep or something, a friend will log in to do the event for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they put like if the limit is too low, I think it might create like extra problems that they didn't really consider. Because
This
like
is
they are like limiting, they want to limit to like combat the piloting issue, but it might create other issues like as
yeah,
a side effect.
I agree. Yeah, I think OmniArc had also mentioned that in the video that he dropped that like yeah, it is gonna you are gonna kind of get this like ring around the rosy effect where it's going to be this a lot of the same thing. You're going to get people messaging customer support, oh, like I'm traveling and this and that, and like they're just they're going to plead with them until support like eventually gives in, and then they'll remove an account and then they'll bring another account on. So like there are going to be ways that can be tackled from these services that are going to attack whatever systems are put in place like we mentioned before. And then one thing I've always thought of too is, and this is again, this is like really, I mean, we're I think we're in the state we're in now because of, I mean, I think Lilith kind of self-imposed this on themselves when they added secondary passwords. What are your thoughts on just removing secondary passwords and we go back to?
Seven actually had that idea too. He was like, just remove secondary passwords. If you want to pilot, you roll the dice and see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was really funny. I don't know. It's hard because like accounts are being shared so much at this point that it really would be a gamble. Like if people have removed the people, like I guess they'd have to like do a total reset, right? Like
Yes, yeah,
remove
yeah, yeah.
everything
Yep.
if they're gonna add that. I mean, yeah, it kind of is like without that secondary password, you wouldn't be sharing your account to all these random services
Mm-hmm.
who are just doing things. Like you wouldn't be willing to share your account to like random chaining pilot person anymore.
I don't think. I mean, if they remove secondary password, I think that's just gonna hurt people that cannot afford to pay for a pilot, so they
Oh, that they
accept
get a
like a
free
free
one.
pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Because like for me, like from what I've seen and what we've had to deal with, the biggest problem with piloting is the when it's like an actual because it is like a business now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When you get like an entire Discord server to pilot for you, like that is a business side. I think because there's also like separate piloting where friends or like friends in other kingdoms will play for you
Mm-hmm.
because they'll play for a few hours and they'll like they'll get tired or whatever. But if it's like a professional pilot, they're getting paid, and a lot of these pilots they live in countries where they like the money is actually very good for them,
Oh yeah.
so they will play it a lot, and it's in their best interest to have a good reputation. So I don't think they'll mess with the accounts. So if you remove secondary password, I think that's gonna make professional piloting even more
More
lucrative
extreme.
and
That's true.
better.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. Huh. Good takes. Good takes. Yeah, and again, I don't think anyone really knows. I think we've kind of thrown around some of the most common, you know, fixes to the problem, at least from what I've heard. And even you guys with as much experience as that you have, there's no clear cut answer to how we fix this. Like we've kind of expressed, and hopefully as this kind of interview has brought to light that this thing has grown so large that it's not a simple fix, and it's gonna take some time. And I think Lilith knows. I think they know of just how large this thing has gotten, especially if it's affecting the Chinese servers as well. So it's attacking them on both sides. But at the same time as well, we can't forget that you know the pilot meta does kind of keep the revenue flowing in for Lilith. So it's something that they want to tackle for the community's concerns, but it's something that is also good for them on the back end, but they're never going to come out and publicly say that. Um,
I think that some of the stuff that they've put in recently, like the auto barbing and whatnot, like I was just thinking back to what like Silent had said about how in other games that are always online and like the solutions to that was those games often implementing their own kind of botting features.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's kind of what they're doing with like this improved version of the attack march,
True.
and with the auto barbing is trying to like introduce their own version of these piloting features so that there's less incentive to get an actual pilot for it, right? Because if you
Yeah.
can do it within the game, then now you don't need to pay someone to do it for you.
I do. You kind of made me think back to what we had mentioned before too, in terms of pace of game and territory. What changes can be made there, in your guys' opinions, that could, number one, give us a fresh take on what Rise of Kingdoms is, and I think in that same way combat the pilot meta. Like one thing for me is like, and again, I know why this hasn't really changed and it's kind of made slow changes, but like the fort meta, like that's like straight money for Lilith. Like the longer you can keep wars going with fort stacking and stuff like that, um, the more money they're gonna get at the end of the day. It's gonna drain accounts a little bit more. But obviously I know you guys are gonna have different takes on that. So like what would you suggest in terms of like territory and pace of play that could freshen the game up for us, and at the same time kind of combat piloting by kind of making some of these fights, I don't want to say make them quicker because I think none of us want the fights to end relatively that quick, but I think you know what I'm saying here.
I think that one of the major reasons why Field is super impactful is, and therefore piloting is super incentivized, is the changes they made with attack march. You cannot stack on a flag to, I mean, you can't turtle on a flag to hold it anymore because your farm failures get fucked going into that flag.
Yeah.
So I think like somehow making it so that you can actually properly defend flags now again would help a lot, because then there's having field or not having field doesn't change too much anymore in that case for a lot of people. I mean, like some of the issue is that like you have to keep field so that you don't get like constantly swarmed, because like nothing can survive a swarm
Mm-hmm.
really, unless you have like someone who's like a whale sitting there like single troop type filling into like a pure troop type garrison.
Yeah.
So
Part of
like
the problem with the flag defense is the power creep of commanders, and with them like being so many commanders now, you can make like specific presets that are not good on the field but will do a lot of damage on a flag. So there is no way that you can defend. I remember against 1v we would have like a rally on us and like non-stop swarming, and we would still like trade 1-to-1. But now if that happens, like if you lose field, if it's your downtime and you get swarmed, like you can't even I was gonna say like maybe they should add in every KVK mode where you have like a flag is 2 million troops, but then you have like backup troops.
yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
But
outposts.
even that like wouldn't help because the trades are gonna be very bad for you. So like you just zero yourself even faster this way. So I think the power creep has to do with that, where defending is very hard now.
Mm-hmm.
So the solution is to have like, I mean, you need complete field control to be able to defend. Otherwise, if you're just like heavily feeling like, maybe some people will remember in previous KVKs, like we had people like Bunny who would non-stop fill and would be able to like hold an entire kingdom for like hours
Mm.
until his kingdom was back online.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not the case anymore like that. If you do that, you still lose the flag very fast. Like when GT fought 77 and the duo Russians were fielding, were filling, it was still not enough for them to hold.
Yeah. So one of the fixes would be to for us to enter a little bit more of a defensive meta in terms of flags, is what I'm reading on this. Not so much would forts kind of play into that as well?
I
I
don't think
think
force play
what
into it
they
too much.
I think what they did recently with the change where you cannot overlap is good.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, you have like kingdoms infinitely build forts,
Yeah.
which destroys the momentum of a kingdom, and also it makes people bored. They don't want to log in as much because I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
They will
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
rebuild another fort.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
So
there are some
specifically, go ahead.
uh, there are some like for example, I remember 77 getting everyone online to rebuild the fort. So like they would delete the fort and then rebuild it.
Mm-hmm.
I think stuff like this is fine because you still need everyone online. So you
Yes.
need like it's better than just free burning for like 20 hours, um, and then you build a new one at the back. So now like with the decreased health of the forts and you being unable to like overlap, it's for me I think it's better this way.
So
Well, I mean, it's
specifically
not
adding the
even
defense
between
to
that.
flags. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, going back to that KVK 13 that we mentioned, between 365 and 960, and that left Zone 6 on Strife, that sort of stacking forts meta was actually what 960 used, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just stacked a bazillion forts. They very rarely defended these forts, and they just used that burn time to drain 365 on the field. So like they were just using that to just farm field at that point, and like it was, there was too much burn time there for what they were able to do, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
like you wouldn't be able to do that now. They'd lose that zone way too fast.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a good change for sure with the forts.
Yeah, I mean we've defended like there's been few KVKs where we abuse the forts, like against 254 when we didn't let them take any pass like for zone 6
Mm.
because we would just keep building and then each day they would have like fewer players online because they didn't see the point in it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we've also dealt with that. Like we've been attacking kingdoms and they just build forts and then we're like, okay, we're just gonna wait for the like next zone because it is pointless
Yeah, yeah. I've
because it
realized
doesn't take anything. You just need credits, and credits are not hard to get.
yes, especially I mean over the time, like once the fort meta kind of came into it and like people understood the importance of building credits in the off season. And I always questioned this too before I came into the Imperium, like why do these guys like continue to fight? And then I realized very quickly, I'm like, oh, that we kind of stopped fighting like in the KVK two KVKs ago when we had 365 in that zone and they kept rebuilding the forts on us. It really does come to the point where like people aren't really playing, but you do still have to kind of have some people online to like slowly burn the forts down, and you're using farms to fill the rallies and they're using farms to fill the forts. So like
Yeah, and both sides are kind of like min-maxing things to see who can like min-max the bestest, and you know who's
yeah.
actually getting drained in this zone.
Yeah.
I hope it's not us, sort of
um
thing. Yeah.
okay, so good changes so far on the forts, and then I guess having some changes onto flags, and we have started to see a little bit like I think it was someone mentioned it recently. I don't know, remember where it came from. I've been having a lot of conversations with people, so I apologize if I can't give them the credit. But like a lot of these commander releases aren't pertaining to like you have to be attacking a field troop. So they've been kind of shadow nerfing swarming in a way. I think the power creep is still there enough that it's going to be effective regardless, but they are kind of approaching it from that manner in a way. But flag defense is something that I guess we can see a change on that would hopefully help pace of play. Do you think that like increasing the multiplier of deads from swarmers would be something that would help that? That's just like a random thought that I had. I don't know if that would be viable or not though. Like if you swarm a
Mm,
flag, you're obtaining more deads than you usually would.
I don't think so,
I'm not
because I
sure
think
because
that you're just gonna give more benefits to the like fattest swarmers. I think at that point.
I mean these issues with defending flags and pushing flags, the lower seeds don't really have that. I mean,
True.
there like it is a lot easier to defend and a lot easier to burn flags. You don't need like complete field control. Like this honestly becomes an issue on I've noticed on like A seed where if you lose field, then you immediately lose the flag. Because at that point, like when you get to like A seed, maybe some B seed kingdoms do that.
Mhm.
Like they have like rallies anchored on flags. So once you wipe a kingdom, you just get all the burns. They cannot really defend, or you can even like fake them. Like you go one flag, so they move all the reinforcements.
Field. So, yeah, they have been kind of shadow nerfing that a little bit, but yeah, I guess more to come on hopefully flag defenses and stuff of that nature to change the pace a little bit and combat the pilot kind of in that same token, and also too, like, made a great point that, I mean, this is really late into the video to caveat this. Maybe I'll probably throw in an edit in the beginning, but like a lot of this conversation does pertain to Imperium and high A seed and even some mid A, the mid A's who kind of get grouped in with the Imperiums from time to time. A lot of these issues probably don't pertain to B seed, C seed, which
Yeah, most of these problems that we discussed will not. I mean, they're not going to be relevant to most kingdoms, I would say.
yeah,
This topic, I don't think will be relevant to, I mean, maybe 99% of the kingdoms.
yeah, I agree.
Because they'll see that it's easy to defend, they'll be like, what the fuck are these people talking? But
yeah,
if you
yeah,
have like, if you have 5 max tech players with like the best equipment and they bring like heavy swarming marches,
mm-hmm.
your flag is gonna die. Like you cannot save it.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I mean, like that's
probably
another point though, is like our sometimes like the garrisons that are meta for A seeds aren't possible for us to run in
mm-hmm.
Imperium with the kind of swarm power that gets thrown at us, because you need too many backups to run those
True.
garrisons.
Yeah,
Because the captain dies too fast.
yeah,
Maybe they can do something about the captain not dying,
Dude,
the same as rally.
or just make it so
So
it's easier for us to recap in the next one.
I mean, yes,
It's just like
that would be
fuck
an easy
that
fix,
fucking garrison
but
menu.
maybe it's something they should consider.
yeah, I
So
don't
you get one garrison and then it doesn't die.
yeah, I gotta say, like, when I went into Tides of War for the first time and like we kind of like discovered that mechanic, at that time I was, I think, just kind of like stepping out of like a garrison lead role, um but like I remember still needing to be used as a garrison, and obviously being, kind of the average player who doesn't have a dumb amount of troops to consistently garrison. I felt it extremely refreshing that I can actually garrison throughout the entirety of the KVK without having to worry about my troop count. Like, I think that's another layer to what you're saying here with the garrison captain. And I don't understand. I guess, like, obviously the strategic approach, but like I do think that could help these defenses a little bit too, because I mean, uh I don't have the clips because I don't pump Discord in, but I think what's the other guy, Warlog in our kingdom, I think he's a Russian content creator. He posted a good video with you guys and like voice and stuff like that, and like, bro, the amount of times I've heard like, Phil, get swap we need captain in, new captain, get captain ready, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Dude, and like those, it's like basically, I mean, like that one defense from last KVK.
Yes,
what,
yeah, that's
how long was it? It was like a 40-minute defense. And yeah, the entire time, it's like every 5 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, we need a new captain. Who's the new captain? And every 5 seconds for 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's brutally draining.
Yeah. I think.
I mean, I can say that if there are like certain garrison pairings that are very good, but the downside is they die too fast.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to make sure that
True.
you find multiple players with good gear and those commanders. But if the garrison, I mean, maybe died, like they don't have to make it
Or
so
maybe it
that it
got
never
hit
dies.
AoE into the
I mean, yeah, that's
flag
another problem.
even,
Like if you're
and
a
then
rally
you get
leader,
fucked.
you just put one troop in the rally and you don't have to worry about it. But if you're a garrison, I mean, if it's not getting swarmed, you can put like 40, 50K, because it's based on percentage, not like total unit.
Yeah.
But if you're refreshing and you have a low march and you get hit by AoE, then
Yeah.
you're fucked now.
It's
So
gone before it even gets in. Yeah.
Hey, if
garrisons
your
are
city's
like
not
at a
next to the
disadvantage
flag,
because of
then
that.
like there's your backup. It's gone. There's the flag. It's gone now too.
Oh god. Yeah, a lot and hopefully to come on some of the functionality aspects of combat and stuff. And I do, and then, like I said before, like the open fielding stuff is like really stale. Like there's even times too, like I have to teleport somewhere else, and luckily I fight in a kingdom big enough that we have multiple fronts that we can fight on. But like I can't sit in the same spot and just keep like brain dead fighting, clicking on dots. It's just like it's too much. So I do agree. Hopefully we get like some combat refreshes, which will give Rise of Kingdoms a fresher feel while also tackling some of the core problems which come into piloting itself. We're at about like an hour and a half now, so I don't want to go much longer. But I do have one more question from. It's a mail-in question from a 93 player. Um, it's Ray. He said he asked, do they feel that Lilith allowing account sharing made it so the game has relatively the same amount of players, just less accounts because of piloting? He said that it was a hot take that he had that Lilith lost players by allowing pilots because the free-to-play or low spenders found it more fun to pilot whale accounts.
Yes and no. I mean, for us, I think, because now the game at this point is like what, like 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So there's a lot of people that have quit. So like the more people quit, kinda in a way you get like the more pilots you get. And now
True.
like after like so many Imperiums have died, uh, most people will like quit and they'll never play this game, but some people will stay just because they can pilot.
Yeah.
So in a way they can still enjoy the game uh, without being invested. Because I mean, I'm sure like for most people, like, maybe not most, but a lot of people, they play the game because of the communities they are in,
Mm-hmm.
not because the game has like this perfect fighting. Um, so I'm not sure if you have like we've lost more people because of that. I do think maybe I mean, I'm sure some people quit playing on their accounts because they can play on like web accounts, so like it is a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
But I think that's just side effects of the game getting older, people getting tired of the game and like slowly quitting.
Mm-hmm. And then
Because
for those players who do step away, like, or like the free to plays and whatnot, like that's like a refreshing take on gameplay for them, right? Like that will keep them engaged because now they can play on a whale account, right? Like something that they would never have access to. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of both where you're
I
losing
think that
I
players
mean
but
you
at the
could
same time
the really
retaining.
pure free to play players, I think the ones that are like real grinders and stuff like that, they just enjoy the grind for itself, right?
Yeah.
So like you're not necessarily losing those people. You're losing more of like the low spenders that are kind of like mad they can't be higher spenders. So
Yes.
they'd rather play on somebody else's account, right?
Yeah.
I can say that I've played other games where once buying accounts is banned, then the game loses like player base a lot faster. And if you allow for purchasing new accounts, like you have, people getting bored of the game and then they sell their account and they quit. So new players buy that account. So they maintain like, I mean, the decline of player base is slower because of that. So in a way, um, you will have some people quitting the game so they can pilot like strong accounts.
Yeah.
But also you do have people that have quit the game but still stick around to help people, and play their accounts. So maybe yes, there are fewer accounts, but
Player base is
you
probably
also you have to consider like like communities are still like
yeah.
more active because of that, like Discord communities, like on social media
True.
and in game.
Okay.
I think
Fair.
also too like the population is just like spread out over so many different
Yeah.
kingdoms now compared to in the past. Like when trying to think what was the oldest kingdom when we played in 2000 whatever was it 2011 was our KVK 9? That was kind of like one of the last really big KVKs, right? That was the one with 254, 556, 846, like everybody all on the same strife map, right? Like
Mhm.
that was a really big one. 556 was like a newer kingdom at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
I think 916 had just kind of like happened.
Okay.
And like now we're up to like 3600,
4,000s we're creeping
No
into
more.
now.
4000. We're up to
Yeah.
4000 now.
We're
Fuck.
getting into 4,000s. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so like no wonder that it feels like everything's sparser because even if we have the same player count, which we don't, because like you said, it's not like COVID era anymore with everyone locked down and like, you know, living vicariously through their online games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in another game like World of Warcraft, I've noticed, I mean, not only me, but people will quit if their server becomes less, like if their server becomes less active. So in a way, people will quit if their kingdom is smaller and like less active. I mean, this is mostly for like social, I mean, and casual players where they will not bother as much with migration. But yeah, I do think like having that many kingdoms is not very good for the game.
Yeah.
Because when, you know, like when Blizzard decided that, okay, we're gonna keep fewer servers, they like at some point it just became like one mega server where everyone was playing there because you could like find any activity at any like 24/7 basically. So if you're a new player to Rise of Kingdoms and you start playing and then your kingdom loses a KVK and then everyone migrates out, the people that are not aware as much, like you would logically think that they know what migration is, but I'm sure like a lot of people don't. They will just quit playing
Yeah.
because now they have no one to play with. But also merging kingdoms is harder than it sounds.
Oh yeah. Super. Well, it's part of the
So
reason
I'm
why,
not
like,
sure what the
yeah. I mean, this is what
You
the
kind of need it
developers
to
get
be
paid
part
big
of
bucks for.
like the flow of the game for a long time for people to be used to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because there's other games where it's like merging kingdoms is just, you know, a step that happens after KVK, whatever, right? And so everyone knows that it's coming and they're prepared for it. Whereas now it's something that's just kind of being thrown in there after the fact. No one's dealt with it before. There's no kind of like, I guess, like kind of norms around it. You know what I mean? Like, there's norms around Diplo and KVK and everything that like you reach out to all your campmates and you get like a consensus of what we're all going to do this KVK, and then we all reach out to everyone else on the map and we try and make like a matchup from that. Like what do you do when there's a merge?
Mm-hmm.
Like who takes point? Like where does all this happen? Like all that sort of stuff, like, and it's happening to the least active kingdoms in the game.
Yeah.
So the least likely to have any resources to deal with any of it. So
Yep. Yep. I think it's part of the reason why we haven't seen anything happen from that yet. Like I've seen, you know,
yes,
in my
because the
in my
people that
streams
it's
lately.
happening to don't even know where to go complain about it.
Yeah. Like there's so many people that have been asking about it. I've seen it like my streams and other people's streams, like what's going on with like Kingdom Merger, and it's just like, yeah, no one knows because it's happening to like the smallest and like the deadest of kingdoms that might have like 5 people in it who've been, you know, getting MGEs
Yeah,
for
like
God
they're
knows
gonna
how
like
long.
yell at a cloud because they don't know that Facebook exists or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So yeah, all problems that, you know, these developers are, they're hopefully well paid and are working on these things, but um yeah, I think we you know had some good discussions on the pilot thing. I think I'm happy to like, you know, from a normal player perspective, I guess, like not so normal because I do make content on it, so I would like to say I know a little bit more than the average player. But like to know that we kind of were on some of the same wavelengths here. You know, we I think we all agree that we need some patience with this. And we've uncovered that it's a much larger problem that maybe the average player knows about. I think it was really nice to have a leadership perspective kind of pull the rug back for us and be like, holy shit, like there's wait, there's war lead piloting that like that's going on now. So like
These people are getting paid.
yeah.
What?
And then also to the fact that like, you know, do we think that this is gonna fix it like right away? Like not really. But it is a step in the right direction. So, I think that the most important thing here, the most important takeaway that I would say is that we're seeing quick action on this. And hopefully there is more actions to come. So I just wanted to, thank you again for the time that you guys took today. And then I don't know if you guys had anything to like close out, any final thoughts or like anything to just throw out there, words for Lilith or anything of the sort.
Mm, nothing for me. I think that's all.
No, I think I yapped enough, so.
It's fair, good enough. Cool, awesome.